So hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Kevin's Garage. As you well know by now, my ongoing journey as a car building novice to build my Factory 5 Roadster. So what are we doing this week? Well, originally the plan was to upgrade my cooling hoses, but I'm just waiting for a couple of the hose clips to arrive. So I may get to that, but I may not. So to use the time productively, I'm actually going to fit these instead. So these are my cup holders. So let's talk a little bit about them. These are actually marine grade stainless steel cup holders. I intend to fit two. They've got an internal diameter of about 3¼ inches. And I just have a feeling they're going to be a little bit trickier than I may have imagined. So let's go on that journey together. Okay, so here we are in the car. Let's talk about ideal placement. So I think really I'm definitely thinking of sort of somewhere here. But now I've got to be cognizant of what are some limitations to what I'm doing. I think the first one is, let's think about the stick shift. Where does that go? Can that get in the way? And then I think the next piece is we have to look underneath a little just to see where the placement is of how deep this is and where the struts on the chassis are. So let's just have a look underneath. Okay, so now you can see underneath things become a little bit more clearer because you've got these two 3¼ inch arms within the chassis, which are or can be a little bit of a challenge, and you've also got this support for the dash. So I've got to make sure if I'm going in this sort of space here, how is that going to work? So what I've determined is the only way I can do it is to build myself some form of template. So I think the best thing to do is to build that out of cardboard. So let's just have a look at that. Okay, so here's the template that I've built just out of a piece of scrap cardboard. And you can see this is basically a mirror or a copy of the piece of aluminum that goes over the transmission shaft. So obviously this is where the stick shift goes. This piece here, I'm not sure you can see it very clearly. This is where the central support will go. And then the holes I've drilled here are actually the only place where the cup holders will actually fit, because those two struts are right here. So if I put this one here, literally the struts just sort of go under that lip, so it will fit. So what I've done is I've put the other one as close to it as I possibly can on the same center line. So there's just a little bit of a gap between the two lips that are marked here. So it is a little bit over to the left, but you can see this one is about maybe 2¼ inches in. This one is maybe 1¾ So there's like a a ½ inch gap or so. But I think once the carpet's on and everything else, the fact it's not center, I don't think is a major issue. But what you do have is two functional cup holders that will work, and I think will be valuable in terms of the car. So let's take this now and have a look to see what it actually looks like in the car and see if it works. Okay, so you can see that's where the cup holders are, and literally this cannot go any further over to this side. So I think you can see you've got pretty good clearance, particularly over the one on the left. I think, yes, this can obviously move a little bit in terms of the where you're going to put the center stud. That's fine, but there's plenty of room here for that to happen. But obviously these can really only fit in this one spot. So now I've got to be very careful in terms of how I transition from here over to the aluminum cover. So I'll show you how I do that to make sure that it's in exactly the right place. All right, so let's now mark out the aluminum. So if we just switch to Kevin Cam for a moment, what you can see I did next was I just made a number of markings and basically transferred the cardboard template to the aluminum panel, and obviously checked and double checked this. I also double checked by measuring and finding the center points on both of the circles, so that when I drill using the hole saw, I've got the sort of middle of the circle, so I should then get the holes in exactly the right position. So I did need to check this a number of times, because clearly any mistakes I make here, I only have one of these panels and the cup holders only fit in one place. So all right, let's get them cut out and hope for the best. Okay, so now time to cut out the holes. So most importantly, make sure everything is secure and clamped, which we have here, and then put a center punch right in the middle. I'm going to do that a couple of times. Perfect. Right, what I'm also going to do with this one is I'm going to drill it first with a 1/8 of an inch, or just to give it a nice center hole. So let's just do that. Okay, and now let's drill it out with the hole saw. Okay, so let's just drill this out with the hole saw. All right, looks good. Let's just do the other one. Brady, what are you doing? Are you helping? Are you helping? Not really. Right, so we'll just take a quick look on Kevin Cam, and just as a reminder, the hole saw was 3.5 inches, and if you just take a close look at this hole here on the right, you can see it just about sort of fits. It just about covers there, because underneath you can see that's part of the chassis. But the good news is the cups drop straight in, and obviously now, so they're pretty much ready. I will be putting some heat insulation on there later, so I'm not too worried about the fit yet, but I think they look pretty good. So now let me just finish off. I've got a couple of issues, some things to do with the wiring underneath. Obviously need to take the dog out, I'll do that, and then I'll come back and I'll finish off the rivets that need to go in here as well. All right, let's move on. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're marking out the transmission cover. So the first thing I did was just mark out where the 3/4 inch parts of the chassis are, and then I've actually just put a 3-inch holes in here, because I don't want too many in the top. I think it's important to have them in the top, because the last thing you want is this sort of moving around. It's going to be covered in carpet, so it's going to be smooth anyway, but I'm definitely going to put a few in the top, but just not as many as I normally would. This marks the brace where we have the support for the dash, so I want to make sure I avoid that. So I might end up putting an extra one down here yet. I'm just going to wait to see what it looks like before I do that. Then I've kept with the 3-inch at the top, because that's a little awkward to get to, and again it's at the top, so I don't want to push my luck too far. Where I have gone with the traditional 2-inch though is all the way down the side. This is going straight into the 3/4 inch tube. Done the same on the other, and also kept the 2-inch at the back as well. So that's what the mount looks like. So let's get those holes drilled, punched out and drilled, and then we'll see what it looks like back in the car. Okay, so let's take a quick look on Kevin Cam. You can see now I've drilled all of the holes on the sides and on the top. I just need to flip over the top and the bottom. What I've also put on, as you can see here, this is just the additional piece of aluminum just to make the hole smaller where the stick shift comes out of. So don't worry about keeping that straight. The most important thing to do is just to make obviously the hole smaller, and then make sure that whatever gear that you're in, that you don't get any sort of any knocking around. So I think we're pretty good there, so I'm going to mark that up as well. So right, what I'm going to have to do is to take the seats out, and we'll come back when it's all finished. All right, let's move on. So you can see on Kevin Cam now I've got a nice group of clecos in place. So now I can follow the usual procedure, which is obviously drill all of the holes. Now I've got a solid base, a little bit awkward under there, but I can use my small driver right angle attachments. You see I've taken the seats out to make it much easier. So once I've drilled all the holes, then I can obviously just take it off again, put the silicone, and then rivet and put it all to bed. All right, let's come back in a minute. Okay, so let's have a quick look at with Kevin Cam, so you can see that the central transmission tunnel is now pretty much complete. You can see the cup holders are in place. Now, there's still a little bit of flexibility here because I'm going to have to put some heat insulation underneath, and of course there's going to be some carpet as well. So I wanted a bit of flexibility so they'll move around a little, but you can see it looks nice and neat. One point to remember about this is that this is really just to make this hole smaller. So my recommendation is just keep moving around the stick shift to make sure it doesn't touch, and it's actually more likely to touch at the front than at the back, so it's probably going to be a little bit further forward than you would imagine. I think my other tip would be make sure that you've done everything that you need to underneath, because obviously there's quite a few rivets to have to take out, but I thought it was worth doing well, because clearly what you're trying to do is to keep any drafts and noise down to a minimum. So when you put the heat insulation on and the carpet, really that's a lot of stuff to move anyway. All right, so let's just summarize and bring it home. Okay, so that's it for this week's edition of Kevin's Garage. I have to say, I really like the cup holders, and no one will be more excited than my wife. I have to say, though, there's probably more work involved in finishing off the aluminum on the transmission tunnel than I originally anticipated, because I had to do some work with the routing of the electrical system prior to closing up the tunnel. So my word of advice is make sure that you've done everything that you need to, because obviously it's going to be a little bit of a challenge now to take this off. Obviously you can still get access underneath, and there will be heat resistant material and carpet on this in the future, so it has to be done at some stage. So I enjoyed that. Yeah, enjoyed that process. Now we can move forward. So what do we have to look forward to? Well, I've got another edition of Kevin's Garage Fast 5 Favourites coming up, so look out for that. Next week, I'm just waiting, and they've actually just arrived now, the clips, so I can finish off the hoses for the cooling system. I know I've got quite a lot of preparation work to do on the body, so a lot coming from Kevin's Garage in the future. So hopefully you're still enjoying this novice's journey. If you are, then please, as always, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care.